Burgami. Break the vision, building perspective, issue dissect views, mindsets.
Those farmers, those marketers, processors and marketers still earn from agriculture, not only for themselves, but also for Nigeria.
On Burgami, the current affairs morning teaser on Vision FM 92.1, where Nigerians discuss Nigeria.
It's very sad. Even the places that have been demolished, they have been allocated to themselves. I can see crisis ahead of us.
There's something definitely wrong with our reward system, and that attracts corruption. How many Nigerians, civil servants, can today be able to put a roof over their head with the salary they are receiving?
Burgami, current, expository, daring.
Observing the trends of corruption within the National Assembly, within the executive arm of the government, at the state, at the local government, state, and the national level, whatever is the tenure, unless the issue of corruption is being tackled, we attaining the state of development by using a term of government as a yardstick will remain a mirage in Nigeria.
Burgami, every weekday at 8 a.m., exclusive to the vision of the nation's capital.
We welcome you back to the Burgami Summit Breakfast Show. I'm Shala J. And for the next 1 hour, we will be bringing you another topic of national importance. I don't even want to call it implication. And our title for today's Burgami is, Should National Assembly Adopt Proposed 6-Year Single Tenure for Office of the President? Of course, the president, governors, and the local government chairman. Should National Assembly adopt the proposed 6-year single tenure for office of the president? My guest in the studio is definitely someone who is not new to you. He's the initiator of Creative Change Center, Omo Ibukun. You hear from him very shortly. This particular edition has been produced by Chinedu Ichiano. And the background to today's topic is that the House of Representatives members who sponsored the bill to amend the 1999 Constitution to provide for a 6-year single term for president have resolved to reintroduce the bill. Sponsor of the bill, Ikenga Ugochinyere, who's a PDP member from Imo, said this in a statement in Abuja on Friday following the rejection of the bill during plenary on Thursday. The bill sought the introduction of a 6-year single term for the president, governors, and local government chairmen. It also seeks a zonal rotation of presidential and governorship seats, as well as holding all elections in one day. Ugochinyere, who leads 34 other lawmakers, advocated a single term of 6 years. However, said that all hope was not lost on the bill, as more consultations will be done. The lawmaker, who is the lead sponsor of the bill, said the decision on the floor of the House will not put an end to agitation and hope, insisting that the objective behind the bill will be realized. In the studio is Omo Ibukun. Welcome to the program again.
Thank you, Omo Ibukun.
All right. I would also like to remind our listeners that halfway our telephone number 0916-770-9564 becomes relevant when Omo Ibukun takes a break. What do you think are the primary motivations behind the proposed single 6-year term for Mr. President, Governor, and local government chairman? Omo, what do you think?
Thank you very much, sir. Thank you for having me. I think the first thing to say is that There is one good thing about the bill, and there is also something to criticize about the bill. The one good thing about the bill, that could be a very good objective for the bill, is seeking a single-term presidency for executives, probably extending to legislators too. A single-term allows, especially executive members, to focus on development rather than re-election. That is one important benefit of a single-term executive role. So, generally, that proposal of a single term is a very, very important proposal on that bill. Single terms allow people to focus on the job instead of focusing on re-election. That's the first thing. The second thing is that the objective of the bill, which is to, according to Ikenga, Ikenga's opinion is that the objective of the bill is to curb wastages, to reduce what is spent on elections. And I think democracy costs money. I think that objective might not be so progressive as the sponsors of the bill think, because democracy should be our first investment. Because at the end of the day, if we invest in democracy, we will get to reap other things from democracy. So I think the first thing to say is that the objective that the bill should focus on is the objective of ensuring that politicians are not distracted by the effort to seek re-election. The objective should not be reducing election costs. Yes, wastages should be reduced, but the cost of election should not be, the importance of spending on election should not be downplayed. The importance of spending on our democracy should not be downplayed.
You know, most people will say quite clearly that maybe we got it wrong in whether it's going to be a 6-year term or 2 4-year terms. There's not too much difference. One is 6, one is 8. You know, just got 2-year differential. But that our problem is more structural than it is the number of years. If you look at it really very closely, you'll find out that the manner in which the individuals are, I don't want to say, are selected in the different parties, already go hollow after the primaries. And then by the time you now escalate, you know, the functionalities of the different parties, you see that the whole thing at the end of the day is a major facade as to what the public expects. All manners of wuru-wuru go on. And if you do not correct elections or potential election at that stage, it just carries through. So shouldn't that really be the focus instead of looking at it, say, 6 or 8 years or even 10 years? Does it really matter? It is structural more than almost anything else. Can we agree on that? Or I'd like to know your position.
Yeah, I think I agree with that. I think, aside I agree with that, I have to also say that if you listen to the conversations on the floor of the National Assembly, you will see a lot of oversimplification for different agendas. Yeah. Very well simplified conversation, very peripheral conversations. And it's saddening that the Parliament should have the best minds in the country, not those simplified thoughts. I think the thing to say is to agree that the problem is actually structural. Let me give an example. The question of giving a 6-year term and 8 years for 2 tenures, most times is always predicated on the question of stability and continuity in governance. But the question of stability and continuity in governance is not predicated on how long executives spend in office. Let me give you an example. In UK, within the course of 2 months, UK had 3 prime ministers.
Correct.
And the country was not destabilized.
Very much so.
So we should ask ourselves, what structure do they have in that country that ensure that they can change president 3 times within 2 months? And they did not, the country, if that happens in Nigeria right now, we know what would happen. We can already imagine if Nigeria is going to change president 3 times in 2 months, then Nigeria is already in chaos. But it's a system. And I think I was having that personal conversation with you the last time that we need a system that reflects more of our constituents, a parliamentary system. The presidential system is not working in many ways, structurally. Yeah, the parliamentary system is not going to be perfect too, but to a large extent, it's harder to destabilize. So structurally, it is harder to destabilize or capture a parliamentary system. But it's very easy to destabilize or capture a presidential system. So if we are talking about ensuring stability and continuity in governance, one of the major things we should do is to focus on restructuring the system of governance we are practicing to ensure maybe it's more parliamentary than presidential. I mean, after a long stretch of conservative leadership in the UK, it went into the hands of Labour recently, and the transition was very smooth. That's because they had a system on ground. Look at South Africa too. In South Africa, there was the same kind of election. ANC for the first time had to concede power and form a coalition government for the first time, and there was no instability.
You see, the point you're making is rather it's very important. Let's put it like that, and that is the fact that regardless as to which democracy we're looking at, I don't think Nigeria took a look at itself and said, the presidential system that we're going to follow has to be uniquely and, unapologetically Nigerian. We went ahead and simply took the American system, hook, line, and sinker, not understanding what went down before those wise men put up the American Constitution. And even when the American Constitution was under threat, look at how the American people came back, gave power to the potential destroyer of the Constitution, was Donald Trump. And they're challenging him now. Let's see what you do in destroying our Constitution. See, so I think the issue of structural nature is something we have never visited. You will expect that the people who are the legislators, who are supposed to be the think tank of democracy, simply seem to have gotten it wrong. But if you're saying a 6-year term, that is different from the 2 4-year terms of the American system. You might give them kudos for that. Just say, for whatever is really worth, they're at least thinking along the line of, say, let's see something that works. In the question I now have for you, if we have a single term which could readily and easily impact the president's decision-making and governance style, don't you think that on the other side will be a negative for the 6-year term that you're talking about?
Okay, if I get your question, you're saying that if we have a single term, it would cancel out the effect of having double terms and for 8 years. It's still almost the same thing at the end of the day. One thing I think is this, and permit me to say this is an hypothetical situation.
Okay.
Because we've studied dictators across the world. And permit me to say that Nigeria is a dictatorship. No apologies for that.
Democratic dictatorship.
Civilian dictatorship. And open civilian.
That's an oxymoron, but go ahead.
Yeah. So we've dealt with we've studied dictatorship across the world.
Yeah.
And we understand that when a dictator wants to assert power, they come with constitutional amendments. Obasanjo tried to institute a third-term agenda, take it through the legislature and all that. It's common, generally, for dictators to do that. And let's not be surprised. So that's why I said it's an hypothetical situation. Let's not be surprised that this might be an attempt for a government that is not sure they could get a re-election to amend the constitution in their favor, to get a longer term, and use the longer term to get out their opposition so as to be able to amend the constitution again for something that would guarantee them a longer term. I mean, this is Africa. We know how constitutions get manipulated for dictators to stay in power.
But even in America,
thank you.
Now you have three: the presidential, the Congress,
the judiciary in the hands
and
of
the Senate, and the judiciary. Everything in the hands of the Republicans. What stops the Republicans from passing laws that could perpetuate them in power? Yeah, so it's a strong point.
Yeah, I think this bill, if we are not careful, can actually undermine democracy. If we are not careful, it can undermine democracy because, for example, hypothetically, if you give someone a 6-year term, and before the 6-year term ends, they consolidate power enough because they own we can see that they own the judiciary with recent trend of things. I don't need to argue that.
Yeah.
We can see they own the legislature, the two arms of the legislature. So if at the point in time they come up with an amendment that says that, okay, the 6-year term for single term is not enough, let's remove the single term element. And let's now have the same 2-year maximum of 6 years. That means 12 years instead of 8 years.
As long as they have the majority,
they can pass it.
Yeah.
So I think, like you said, we need to go back to the structural issues of our democracy. And for example, the electioneering process in Nigeria, we need to look at it from that structural perspective. That we are spending on elections, it's not because we're having too much elections. It's because we have not streamlined the election. For example, in the parliamentary system, you only need to run local elections.
Yeah.
It is those who have been elected from the local elections, it is the party with the majority that gets to do every other thing. The election is so streamlined. I mean, I was part of some reporting for the South African election, and I saw I was able to see the details. So, for every election that happens regionally, you have gotten a parliamentarian. And the seat so there's really no presidential election in that sense. So you've reduced the cost of governance to the necessary costs. So I think if the concern is to reduce the cost of elections and the cost of governance, I think one of the things we should do is to actually reconsider this structural question.
If we look at a structural question, then it brings us to the leadership. You see, because what is actually missing is that the cowboys who finally emerge as presidents or governors and all that happen to be all, buoyed by money bags and all that. And those money bags surround them, helping them to corrupt the system. Now, let's look at it. If it is really not, whether it's a single term or 2 terms or 4 years or whatever, if it's a leadership question, that props up individuals like Nelson Mandela, who served 27 years in jail, finally came to power. These people put him there. And when it was time for second term, he abdicated. He said, no, let Mbeki come in and really run the system. A Nigerian under similar structure will probably want to be there like Mugabe until they drag him or he dies on the throne. You see, so the issue is the leadership question. Can our structural, the structural question that we've just raised, how can it help us to bring the right person to the party? Not all those making noise that the media follow everywhere, They've proven to have nothing to give. They've proven to have failed, badly, let's put it like that. And yet, they're the people that come up over and over and over and over again. I mean, I hate to mention some names, but you know where I'm coming from. Somebody in a different party who's still yearning to run one more time. We hear his kids all over the place that they want their daddy to be president one more time because each one of them wants to be a millionaire. If you show what those who've been in power, who obtain their millions from woeful means through theft, looting, and etc. I think people of good ideas, of good minds, will be the people to come. So then we come back to the structural issue. How do we get? It's not a 6 or 10-year term or 8-year term. The question should be how it needs to be done where good people who have the capacity to run a government, to be able to articulate their ideas, their manifestos, to benefit the people. These people, how? Let's look at how the system can honor these individuals, you know.
Thank you very much. I think the first place to start on that is, personally, I've had this personal philosophy of it's because I've had friends. The youngest commissioner in Oyo State at the time, we left school together at the same department, OAU, civil engineering. We were friends, and so I've had people who went into politics, who were. So some of them were activists together on campus who went into politics. And I've seen how the system changes people. So I think it has given me this new philosophy of the real change to make is to support every effort that is directly in line with the aspirations of the Nigerian people, is to support that effort with our best. And that's my philosophy, because I think that is what will bring out the leaders that represent the aspirations of the people. The first thing we need is for the people to be able to articulate their aspirations. So every effort for them to coalesce their aspirations and articulate it should be supported by us. And like you said the last time we were here, you said every one of us should be activists.
Yep.
We should all be active citizens. So I think that is going to be the first stage. That is the thing that can bring out the best leaders out of the system. Because after NSAS in 2020, a lot of young Nigerians, some felt they need to just leave the country. This country is lost. Some felt they need to stay back and contest for power. And we saw that went. The general election in 2023 is arguably the most.
It was a hogwash.
It was literally not an election. Yes. So it's easy to...
and all the people who are behind, who are supposed to be the referees, have literally, we're down to the arena.
You surrendered.
That's correct. And, they're still in the system. That's why you can still see Edo's election is questionable. Ondo was buffeted with vote buying galore. How do you call that an election?
The Ondo election is not an election, genuinely.
Period.
If you want to review it factually, it is not an election. So it's like the worst version of what has been a progression that has been started.
Exactly.
And Ondo, it capitulated in Ondo election. It was not an election. You could see that there was really no challenge. There was really no democratic challenge in the election. It was just the ruling party keeping itself in power. Simple. How can a government that's supposed to have done a food program since the question for palliatives has been coming up, wait for like 2 years till the election period to start distributing those palliatives? It was literal vote buying.
Absolutely. And, the one wonders the significant challenges that, again, will come if one were to adopt that single-year term. And let's just imagine, how do you think that could be addressed? Just do us a favor and just pull some tricks out of the hat. How do you think the 6-year term will manifest itself in proper democratic principles and for the people?
A 6-year term.
I'm trying to get you to be a good guy.
Yeah.
I'm trying to get you to support the bill.
6 years in the present Nigeria would be chaotic.
Very.
Sadly. Because, for example, like you said, we try to copycat the American presidential system. But we only take the tendencies in the American presidential system that tends towards autocracy. In fact, the democratic elements of the American presidential system, we don't take it. Because in America, there are midterm elections.
Yes.
Midterm elections is to ensure that it's not just 4 years. It's actually election in America is actually 2 years, because the midterm elections decide sometimes who gets to still be in power. If the midterm elections goes wrongly, the president can be impeached.
Very much.
So,
because the power to impeach is right there
It's right
in the
there.
House of Rep.
thank you.
Yeah.
So, most times, we don't even see, as Nigerians, that the American system is actually a two-year term, not a 4-year term.
Correct.
So, the 6-year thing will actually be chaotic, because it gives a chance for whoever is in power to consolidate power, to concentrate power in their hands, and to create stagnation in the system. While a single term will do the job of ensuring people don't focus on re-election, that long 6 years would concentrate power in the hands of someone, will stagnate the system, because that person is going to be scheming of how to keep that power for longer. A 2-year term, like the American system, now, it's actually 4 years, but the 2-year midterm brings it to 2 years. For example, America has not lamented about the cost of elections. And that's a very big country.
Yeah.
50 states, some of the states bigger than some regions.
Yeah.
Thank you. So, the idea is that if you have as we want to do the presidential system, and we want to have a single term, we can have a presidential system where the parliament election has a midterm election, where people can come in during the midterm elections. If the people feel like, okay, for example, the present government, we have a lot of grounds that led to the End Bad Governance protest recently. And so, these grounds that we have with the present government would be expressed in the midterm elections. We won't have to wait till 2027. By 2025, there will be a midterm election, and we can say that we have a system where we'll go and vote and make sure all of the APC parliamentarians are out, or most of them are out, so that we have a majority, and then we can say, Mr. President, you're done.
Absolutely.
So this is the American presidential system that we copied. But we didn't copy all of these elements, all of these democratic elements of the American
But even if we did, doesn't Nigeria, or don't the Nigerians have a way of corrupting everything that...
yeah, I think...
Well, we haven't come to the meat of this. A 6-year term where by the time they leave, they will even take the toilet seats with them.
I think
they steal everything, and then at the end of the day...
I think it's very true. I think what you said is true. Genuinely, the Nigerian system, and I've always had to say this many times, that there's really nothing innately wrong with us as Nigerians. Because all over the world now, Nigeria is similar to scammer. Nigeria is similar to corrupt. Nigeria is similar to fraud all over the world right now. But I always have to say that there's really nothing innately wrong with us.
No.
It is that generationally we have inherited a corrupt structure.
Absolutely.
So the corruption has seeped into our culture, our lifestyle.
Correct.
Such that a cultural revolution would actually change the mindset of Nigerians. And that cultural revolution cannot happen if we don't change the structures of the system. So, I think there's really nothing wrong with us that would want to corrupt everything generally. But if we see the potential of something working, Nigerians can be very, very progressive. And I saw that during the NSAS protest. In that, the NSAS protest was very spontaneous. And people came with everything, almost everything. People supported each other. I wrote this in an opinion article I wrote, and it was very funny when I was recalling the story. I participated in NSAS in Osogbo, and so we were protesting and all, and so a bullion van with a driver who did not understand the route wanted to pass through the protesters.
You serious?
So, already, the angry protesters were already on the bullion van already. I mean, these people are hungry, and we are taking a bullion van to so it was a very funny story. So when they were trying to pass through, we already saw that this could turn into violence with the way this is going, and the bullion man was already harmed. It was just one vehicle of the police and the bullion van. And it was so interesting that as hungry as the protesters were, Immediately, another side of protesters came and said, we cannot do this. This is wrong. Everybody got into their right senses immediately. Everybody that was trying to say the bullion march got into their right senses immediately. This is wrong. This is not our money. Let them go. And everything calmed immediately. So I
that again shows leadership. It shows leadership because, you know, you can two wrongs cannot make a right.
Yeah.
If they had actually attacked the bullion ban, the same things that they're accusing SARS and all the other people of doing, which is basically, elements of corruption.
Mm-hmm.
They would have
guilty of the same.
Right, guilty of it, right there.
That's the idea.
Oh my Bokuma, thank you so much. Normally, of course, this is not your first time here. You know, we normally open the lines at this time because people will want to participate. They want to give their opinion, ask questions, etc. So we'll do exactly that right now. Our topic is, should the National Assembly adopt the proposed 6-year single tenure for the office of the president, governors, local governments, etc.? And we've gone through the halfway mark. Good morning.
Hello. Good morning, sir.
Yes, sir. Who's calling, please?
Jerry calling you from Altabale.
Sorry?
Jerry calling you from Altabale.
Yeah. Jerry, how are you?
Fine, sir.
Okay.
My take in this rotation of presidency by Gotinyere in this geopolitical zone. Me, in the stand of justice, I believe and I pray, let it work. Let it start there first. You understand? So much justice has to be done. Not any geopolitical zone you cannot get capable and person who can rule this country. And that's what is disturbing Nigeria. What is disturbing Nigeria now, onward, even since, is injustice. You understand? What am I saying? See, when you look at the problem, all the party, especially the PDP, is the zoning formula bring down PDP down and causing problem for the whole Nigeria. To me, if you come to North Central, you will see capable person. If you go to Northeast, Northwest, Southeast, Southwest, you will see a capable person. And that's what will unite this country for now. For example, I don't know where State Ibuku come from. Almost the southern Nigeria now, almost at least 90%, and the North Central now, are going into governorship, 3 senatorial zone. In Nasarawa here, since when governor come for Akwanga zone, all the tension has died down. See, rotation of governors make many states peaceful states, especially southern Nigeria. What am I saying? Let this rotation presidency emulate from governorship formula by bringing governor for 3 political zone. Wow, after this one or the other. You understand? This rotation presidency for now is the best because nobody will feel cheated and nobody will feel this and that and this and that. That is in my take in this one bill.
Thank you. Jerry, it's not particularly about the rotational presidency or governorship or local governmentship. It's what we are talking about is the 6-year term bill, which was recently rejected by the House of Reps. We are not, you see, the next step had that been adopted, would have been, the rotational. Then you can bring up the rotational. Say 6-year term, the south wing of the state or the north wing of the state or the central wing, that is rotational. But that is not what we're discussing this morning. But thank you. We'll take cognizance of that. Thank you. Good morning.
Hello, good morning, Shola.
Yes, brother. How are you? How was your weekend?
I'm so very well.
Thank you.
How's work?
Very well. Very well.
I greet the guests in the studio. My name is Oga Gabriel. I'm calling from Gwarimpa this morning.
Yes, Oga. Please go ahead.
Yes, Inshallah, it's very unfortunate in Nigeria now that they have adopted a culture of 4 years tenure. It is not enshrined in our constitution that if a person contests and wins in an office of the president, a governor, a senate, or another chairmanship, you should do 4 years. I mean, you do 2 tenures. But they have made it a culture that if somebody wins an election, the next thing is to start amassing wealth for himself, keeping money for his second tenure. They call it second tenure, but it's not in the constitution. What we have in the first place is just a 4-year tenure. The second tenure is as a result of if you do well, your people will call you back. But in Nigeria today, it is not like that. People call themselves to a second tenure by what they do in their first tenure. What they do in the sense that they did not even, care about governance. They did not care about what they care for is how to get money and give people their own people in their cycles, and how to, get them back into the office. Somebody contested for an election, a president or a governor contested for an election and he wins. And the next thing is 2-3 weeks or 2-3 months into his government. What they will start to do is people start to do is to raise 2 hands, 2 fingers up, two tenors. They will start to raise 2 fingers up in order to support his second tenure. And he forgot about governance. Whether it is good or not, he doesn't care. What he cares is about his coming back and about how he will fund his campaign for the second tenure. And that's why we continue to have bad governance in this country these days. In those days, when the person wins an election, what he cares for is, first of all, the welfare of the people, good governance, how people will rate his government. But today, nobody cares. How do you talk about somebody who said, it is my own tenure? Hello? And somebody say, it is my turn. And he come and he's doing anything, anyhow he wants, he likes. You understand? So, the 6 years single tenure, I think, is better if you have done your 6 years. Before the 6th year, we should know how to rate your government. You understand me? So, hello? Yes, you understand? So, I think the 6 year single tenure is good. But to think about it, it is not even about the duration. What we are thinking about, what we are professing is how good is your government. It is good governance that we want, not the duration. Even if you do 15 years, 20 years, and people are not complaining, so be it. You understand? But even if they say 2 years, 3 years, and you are not doing well, it is not good for the people. And what we are talking about is good governance, not the years, not the duration, not the tenure. There has never been, second tenure in our constitution. But the culture now has made it second tenure, and people are doing 8 years. When somebody comes and he belongs to a certain region, people will say, allow him to do his own, allow him to complete his own. They even forget about the constitution. They forget about what election is all about. They forget about what governance is all about. All they know is, for their people, for the person that's there, is to finish his own tenure. And which tenure? And how long? What year of tenure is this? They forget about it. So, if this bill can stay through, now it has failed for the first time, and the people that moved this bill say they will try again. We pray that it gets through so that we know where we are. We will know where we will be tomorrow. The 6 year single tenure is okay for us. instead of 8 years and not doing anything. Good morning.
Thank you, Oga Gabriel. One of the things that people even are not aware of, that even the America we're talking about, the mayors can run for as many times as possible. Okay? They can run for as many times. That is where they're actually, that is where you value whatever they may have done within the period that they're there. I think it's in many of the mayoral situations that like every 2 it's like your local government. That's literally what it boils down to, you know. But anyway.
Hello, good morning.
Good morning.
Yes, I greet our guests in the house.
Thank you.
My name is Samuel Abu from Kogi State.
Yes, Samuel, please go ahead.
Yes, let me start my contribution like this. In the first place, Nigeria copied democracy from America, of which we have already destroyed it, we have already battered it, abused it. We are not doing exactly what the Americans planned for democracy before they started this thing. Now, coming to election, participation of election in Nigeria is a different thing altogether. If you see during campaign, the amount of money spent, how people goes about trying to deceive people, so to say, by giving people money, valuable things like wealth and whatever. And when they come to office, it becomes a problem. All the money they spend during the campaign season, they want to collect it back when they come to office within some short time. They will not even think of development or whatsoever, or governance. So what I want, this one tenor system that is we are all about, we are saying, I think all of us are falling to work. Let us all agree with that, because this four tenor, this Godfatherism, after this four tenor, or after 8 years, they begin to lord over the person that come after them. They are not allowing him to work. So these 6 years, when you do, you finish and you go for good. Thank you so much. May God bless Nigeria.
Thank you, Samuel. Samuel is in support of the 6-year term. But more importantly, we're all, I think, saying the same thing, regardless of whether it's 6 years or 8 years or 10 years. That person has to be measured by by his performance at the end of the day. Good morning.
Hello, good morning.
Morning, sir. Who's calling, please?
My name is Ayub Al-Hassan. I'm calling you from Garimpa.
Are you okay? You seem you're not happy calling us, right?
So, this is the way we are Nigerians. We have to manage the country. Because to some extent, sometimes these leaders we are having, they were selfish to an extent that they always want to alter even the constitution to their own favor. Why? Because then we are, as of recent, we are proceeding presidential system of government. Then we need to look at it the first instance. To what extent did the system benefit an ordinary Nigerian? If you look at the politician, I don't think if we in this republic as we are, I don't think if we find a governor that will say, no, I'm regretted to be a governor, or a senator that will say, no, I regretted of being a senator, or whatever position they hold. But the ordinary Nigerians are on a daily basis crying, complaining, when the administration of former president is in power. We cry as a result of non-competency of the other one, of former President Jonathan. Now we are crying of the present administration is less considerate than the past one. So this is the way we keep on crying, often cry, from this administration to the other administration. So why? It's because the politicians or the leaders are not ready to solve the issues or the problem of the country. Why? Because if you look at the condition the Nigerians are into, you begin to wonder, do we really have a leader? Or do we really have someone that is ready to solve our problems? But to me, in my own understanding, I think leadership is not being competent or whatever it is. No, to me, it is as someone who will solve the problem we are facing. It is leadership is solution of the problem. So it is not a level of education, level of exposure, or whatever level we think, but who brings solution to the problem we are facing or we are on. But the present day leaders, they can speak, they can explain, they can narrate, they can aspirate, they can do everything. They will always tell you ahead, very little ahead, you will benefit, you will enjoy, you will do this. But to the system of government, to me, if the leadership is ready, why can't we go back to the parliamentary system that we practice? We the younger generation, we are still hearing about Sardauna, Nnamdi, and co. But why can't we start being having leaders that will compete them or even defeat them? Because the First Republic, that is the Sardauna and Tafawa Balewa and Nnamdi and others, they have fight and struggle for independence. But when they get the power, or when they were given an independence, they compete by a far better than the colonial masters. But we are even crying that why can't we have a colonial master than the leaders we are having today? So let us be sincere to the extent that we are ready to solve our own problem, not being grammatically explained, introducing policies that will not even benefit us anymore. God bless Nigeria, because if we keep on complaining about our national issue, we will consume the whole of the time. Let me give other people to come and express their own view.
Thank you.
That's my own contribution. May God bless Nigeria. God bless Vision F1.
Thank you, Samuel. I think we appreciate your call. But literally, make no mistake about it. Even in today's paper, Bishop Kuka was basically lambasting that Nigeria, the problem of Nigeria has always been its leaders. It's that we've had bad presidents. He basically exonerated Tinubu, but we'll see how that turns out. Good morning.
Good morning. Good morning, Mr. Shola.
Yes, sir. Who's calling, please?
I'm Salam Abdulwaji is calling from Central Area.
Abdul Salam, how are you?
I'm fine, sir.
Very well. Go right
thank you. I think Bishop Kuka also forget that the rotten has entered the religious houses also. It's not only on the political houses. The rotten system. I listened to one leader that said me that if you pay tax and you are unable to pay the next month, the one you are paid to solve have been invalidated. You have to restart it. Because those are some of the issues. But on the issue of 6 years single time, even if they give Nigeria 10 years single time, if they don't want to perform, they won't perform. Because unfortunately, the system did not even allow performance. The system is combatant system. Where states come to federal collect allocation, and we use 70% of that allocation to pay wages and salary, the current expenditure. That's it. Productivity is very low. The remaining 30% is what is used on the sector. That's why it is not coming out as we expected. You cannot carry 70% of what you make to pay wages and salary. I think that, and you think that one will show. It won't show. Unfortunately, in some years back, when we have some manufacturing industry that is working, they sold it out in the name of privatization. And where is it? Those are the area we need to engage our people so that productivity can be high. I learned in economy that what you produce, you consume, you use, and you export. We upgrade your system. But what are we producing What are we exporting? Even what we are producing is not even enough for us to consume. So the 6 years single time, I think if they want to perform, they can perform. But I'm looking at the system. Baba Buhari is one of my best estimates. But when the system consumes Baba Buhari, I now say, this system, Mr. Shola, why is professor leaving academy to come to politics? Why are the medical doctors leaving hospital to come to politics if it's not duty and rules? And all those what they take is part of recurrent expenditure. How can we sustain that? So give them 4 years, give them 6 years, give them 10 years. If they don't want, if the performance is not there, they can't perform. That's it. God bless you. Thank you.
Thank you, Abu Salam. It's not a question of whether if they want to perform. It's a question of, does the system, is it structured insofar as accountability is concerned? If you track the revenue value chain of the country, look at where all our corruption starts from. NNPC. Even the NNPC right now, people are turning their faces to the right, and NNPC is doing everything to the left. They still don't see that one commodity that Nigeria depends on is where all the wahala start. And as long as NNPC is not right, where you get the right money, they'll continue to borrow. You know, they just think you can borrow as much as you want to. Nigeria has a means of paying back and so on and so forth. They don't get it. We should be able to take one more call, and then we'll let Ibukun wrap up.
Hello?
Yes, sir. Who's calling, please?
Good morning, sir. Good morning, Mr. Shola. My name is Bala Mohammed.
Yes, Bala,
I'm calling from Zuba Fruit Market.
Yes.
Thank you, sir. You see, Mr. Shola, candidly speaking, the essence of democracy in itself, it's been defeated by even mentioning 6 years term and a rotational government. We know democracy is a game of election and a game of number. If you rotate the presidency and you make it 6 years, then the essence of even the democracy has been defeated already. Now, let me tell you, Mr. Shola, look at what the high level of corruption we are even experiencing in 4 years we have in Nigeria. Look at the corruption, the high level. And you are giving somebody only 6 years. Then we are dead. He's going to amass a lot of what he's not going to think about you at all. He's going to steal and cheat money to the extent that we'll be in trouble. You understand? I don't agree to this 6 years. It's a game of number. If you have people, you can be from anywhere. Go around, solicit for support, lobby for their vote, and they vote you in. After all, how many have been voted that they are not from within the north? You understand? So I don't agree sincerely for this 6 years single term or rotational. What are you rotating? It's a game of number, and it's a democracy. And you go for election. Go to everywhere, but by the time you start rotating this, then you are not making it a democracy again. Then you start to begin to find a name that you call this system. But you cannot call it democracy no more, Mr. Shola. And one thing you should know, Mr. Shola, if you said you are going to rotate this throughout Nigeria, definitely the abuse of power is there. You understand? When it comes to me, I will make sure I acquire a lot of wealth because I'm not coming back. So that my community or my whatever will celebrate it. You understand? And the whole system, the whole Nigeria, I think you begin to change the name of Nigeria if you are creating this sensation now. Good morning, Mr. Shola.
Thank you, Bala. I think it's our last caller. Bala literally summed it up. Whether it's 6, 8, 10, 50 years, a corrupt leader is a corrupt leader. They will find a way to siphon the money. You know, they put on the toga of governorship or presidency. It's just an excuse for them to empty the coffers of government. So what you're saying, whether you will look at it 6 years, no years, whatever, it's the structure. There has to be a way of making the people that you put in government accountable. Judiciary is having problems because those judges, I mean, even look at some of the recent things by the judges, those who are declaring their ages. These are people who are supposed to question the veracity of what comes before them. They are lying. They're as guilty as sin. Look at the executive. Almost every day, as soon as you lift the veil, some thief is and they don't know they're thieves. There's no accountability. So if the judiciary is compromised, the executive is compromised, the legislature, who have the oversight functions, they find a way to distract them from doing their duties, because, that is really supposed to be the toughest part of government. The legislature. These are people who come together. That is Nigeria's think tank. If they can do their work correctly, the issue is really nobody, the country cannot be going in the right direction. So, Omo, please give us your parting shot.
In passing, I think the thing to say, to just address from the comments, is that Nigeria, I think we come from the assumption that Nigeria cannot work for everybody. And I think that's why there is this talk about rotational presidency. I intentionally did not address that in the first instance because I don't think it's important. I think marginalization becomes identity politics when people believe that it is impossible for that society to work for everybody and nobody is marginalized. If they believe that it's not enough, there's scarcity, then let it work for us at least, if it's not going to work for the other side. And so they are struggling to have their person in power, this zone in power, that zone in power. So I think that rotational presidency thing it's like we are entrenching tribalism by saying we are entrenching in our policy by saying there should be rotational presidency. Exactly. The zoning thing is tribalism structure in our structure. Aside that, I think if I'm going to make I think this is the point where I make my own suggestion, and I say as a Nigerian, I would suggest that we have a single term tenure of 2 years. And I think we are going to be very stable and there's going to be continuity if we do it from the local and the grassroots level. For example, we are struggling for local government autonomy. If Nigeria has a good local government system, we will be able to question our local government from their question those above them. So I think this is how to actually structure a society, not the classification.
Thank you very much. Should the National Assembly adopt proposed 6-year single term for office of the president? There are varied opinions, but at the end of the day, what everybody's looking for is good governance. I'd like to thank my guest, who's the initiator of Creative Change Center. Young, he looks the future of Nigeria. We hope that you don't derail from somewhere.
Thank you.
This particular episode has been produced by Chinedu Channel, and we thank all those who called: Jerry, Oga Gabriel, Samuel Abu, Abdul Salam, Olanrewaju, and Bala Mohammed. I'm Shola J. Please have a wonderful Monday.